Wow.
Yeah. And when I was with Clemson, I helped with the migratory apiculture program. And so we did the bee inspections for migratory beekeepers. So doing like the phytosanitary inspections for when bees come in and then leave the state to make sure that they're free of pests and disease.
When you say migratory, is this the people who bring a farmer pays them to bring? Yeah. Okay. Well, it's funny. One of the questions I was going to ask you later is about bees, and just like we're assuming that people who might end up watching this are not beekeepers and don't know anything about it, except they know that there's danger for the bees. So, like, what can the average person do who's not a beekeeper, but just to help them be healthy?
Yeah. So this kind of ties into a little bit of organic farming part, but also like when I was at the botanical garden, I was really interested in native plants, preserving ecosystems, creating landscapes that aren't a desert. And so even more than just honeybees, having places for all the native bees, which there are tons of solitary bees in the U.S. that need habitat that don't get as much attention as a honeybee. But also butterflies, moths, birds, everything really depend on a native ecosystem.
Right. So taking the time, no matter where you live, to figure out what grew there before people started planting the stuff from Lowe's or Home Depot.
And it's really interesting, like, landscape heavily. We do a lot of landscaping, but we tend to landscape with plants that don't provide a whole lot of nectar, don't provide a whole lot of pollen, or, unusual cultivars that, aren't producing seed, all that kind of stuff. And so it ends up creating these very intensively landscaped places that are still a desert for wildlife.
Right.
And so, like, just allowing some area either to revert naturally, this type of stuff. Weeds are good. Yeah, weeds are good, especially, weeds that are native weeds. So, that's probably the biggest thing.
And for like a business, like I see businesses have like beautiful, lush landscaping, but I don't know, they look pretty, but I don't know anything about. I'm really ignorant in this subject. So a business could spend some money and find a landscaping company that was willing to
do some
maybe spend a little bit more to research that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Plant a wild cherry, let an okra.
That's the best thing we can do. And then I guess also just supporting local beekeepers and local farmers and things like that too.
The impact of conventional farming with chemicals on water. It's a topic close to my heart because I live in the woods with a creek and a lake, and without water, we're not going to have enough life. So
and nitrogen is a big issue in some watersheds.
So that would be runoff from chemicals,
from farms, and honestly, it's there's potential for nitrogen runoff from both organic and conventional farms. All farms have usually, especially livestock operations, have big concentrations of nitrogen, and organic operations can use large amounts of manures and that kind of things, and could potentially cause an environmental problem if they weren't overseen correctly. And so that's part of the organic regulations is there's an environmental impact component of it that applies to all certified operations. But generally, so organic farms, organic materials are not highly soluble, and like so Miracle Grow 10-10-10, so that's a highly soluble fertilizer. It means
it dissolves well in water.
It dissolves well in water. It's why it makes it such an effective fertilizer is because it's immediately plant available, right? So you can throw it down, add some water, boom, it's all there for the plant. The problem is that when it's highly soluble, it can quickly move through some soil types into groundwater, you know, and then cause problems. So with organic based inputs, so you know, manures, agricultural meals, that kind of thing, they break, or mined materials, they break down a lot slower. They aren't highly soluble. They aren't that quick hit of a nutrient that a lot of farmers like, but they're a little bit easier to manage. The one highly soluble fertilizer that is allowed in organic is sodium nitrate, and that's managed very closely in the organic regulations because it's a mined material. You know, it is allowed. It's not a synthetic substance, but it's highly soluble. So farmers have to demonstrate they're applying it in a way that isn't causing a risk to groundwater or the watershed. So,
Yeah, so keep our bugs and fish and larvae and all that stuff healthy.
And that's really, I mean, that's a really important part of the regulations, that it doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but there is a requirement that, you know, there is no, all operations have to either maintain or improve the natural resources of their operation. And that includes woodlands, wetlands, wildlife. You know, all of that is considered part of their natural resources.
Yeah, because most of us are just thinking it's what's sprayed on the chemicals, but it's really much bigger and broader than that. Yeah. Well, this has been like super, super helpful. I learned a ton today, and I hope the people who watch this video are learning a lot, and I hope we all feel inspired to make choices that are going to help us be healthy and help our ecosystem and our local communities as well. I think there's a great, we didn't really even touch on that, but you can, by supporting local farmers, we're just, you know, helping our local economy and all those things. So thank you so much for your time.
Great. It was fun.
Yeah,
Thanks
it was
for
really
coming.
helpful. Thank you so much.